All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about the next big thing in AI, GPT-5. But this isn't just some small update. What we're looking at is a massive shift in what artificial intelligence can actually do. And it brings with it two totally different visions for where we're all headed. So to really get a grip on this, let's use a quick analogy. Think about the AI we've been using, GPT-4. It's incredible, right? But its intelligence was basically pegged at the level of a university student. Smart, really capable, but still kind of learning the ropes. And this is where everything changes. GPT-5 isn't just graduating. People are describing it as having the intelligence of a PhD. What that means is we now have a tool with doctoral-level smarts on pretty much any subject you can think of, just sitting in our pockets, ready to go. And that really is the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? When you put that kind of brain power into the hands of millions of people, it doesn't just tweak how we write emails. It changes everything. So what exactly does happen now? Let's get into it. Okay, first, let's look at what this means for you right now. What does it actually feel like to have a PhD-level expert as your personal assistant? We're moving way beyond just clever tricks. We're talking about deep personal integration into our lives.
And this new level of integration is what's so wild. For example, in a recent demo, someone who is training for a marathon just asked GPT-5 to schedule their next run. The AI just went into their private emails, checked their calendar, found an empty slot, and boom, scheduled the run, all in just a few seconds. This is the first step towards a true personal assistant that actually helps manage your life.
Of course, with all this new power comes a huge need for safety, and OpenAI is claiming a massive leap forward here. Before, you could kind of trick GPT-4, ask for something dangerous but in a roundabout way, and it might just give it to you. GPT-5 is supposed to be way better at understanding the real intent behind a question, even if it's hidden or metaphorical, and it'll just say no to those harmful requests. And the list of what this PhD can do is pretty mind-blowing. It's a beast for coders, writing and fixing complex code just by asking. Its memory is so much better. You can come back to a conversation days later, and it'll know exactly what you were talking about. You can give it one idea and say, turn this into a tweet storm, a news report, and a draft for an infographic, and it'll do it. And maybe most importantly, it's getting much more accurate with complex topics like health, all while sounding more like a real person than ever. Here's where it hits home. There was a story shared about a patient who had 3 rare kinds of cancer. Their doctors were sometimes unsure what to do next. They were even asking her if she wanted to try radiation. So she used GPT-5 to sift through all the complicated medical research, to understand her choices, and to actually help create her own treatment plan. That's technology literally empowering people in the most critical moments imaginable. So now let's zoom out and see how this all fits into a much, much bigger vision. Because for OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, this tool isn't just about making us more productive. It's the beginning of a future that looks almost nothing like today. Altman has a very clear benchmark for what's next: super intelligence. And for him, that's not some vague sci-fi idea. The line is crossed when an AI can do AI research better than his entire team of brilliant researchers at OpenAI. The moment the creation becomes better than the creators at the act of creating. That, he says, is when the world fundamentally changes. And what does that world look like? Well, for Altman, it's all about crazy levels of individual empowerment. He says we're now entering an age where one person, armed with these AI tools, can create a one-person unicorn, a company worth over $1 billion. The AI gives you this unbelievable leverage, magnifying a single person's creativity to a scale we've just never seen before. And Altman lays out this incredibly bold timeline. Right now, he says, we're in the age of one-person unicorns. But within a year, he expects AI to start making brand new, genuine scientific discoveries all by itself. And get this, by 2035, he thinks an AI could be smart enough to not just figure out a cure for cancer, but to run all the experiments, manage the entire FDA approval process, and actually deliver the cure. It is an absolutely breathtakingly optimistic vision. But not everyone is on board with that rosy picture. Enter Mo Gadat. He's a former top executive at Google X, their innovation lab. He looks at the very same technology, the same tool, and he sees a completely different and frankly much darker future unfolding. So here's the clash. You've got Sam Altman and OpenAI saying their mission is all about progress for humanity. But Mo Gadat, he's not buying it. He sees this rush to get AI out there not as a noble gift, but as a good old-fashioned full-throttle quest for profit and power. Gaudat warns this race for profit is going to trigger an economic shock like we've never seen. He predicts that before we even hit 2030, AI will create the world's first trillionaires. But that wealth isn't going to trickle down. Instead, he sees it creating this giant chasm of inequality, with unbelievable riches piled up in the hands of a few, while everyone else gets left further and further behind. And Gaudat doesn't mince words. He's basically accusing Altman of being dishonest. He argues that they're pushing this tech out before it's ethically ready, not to help people, but to win the race, to be the biggest player and to make the most money. He sees it as capitalism on steroids, plain and simple. But, and this is where Mo Gaudat's argument takes a really fascinating, almost shocking turn. He thinks this period of dystopia, this 12 to 15 years of chaos and inequality, isn't the end of the story. He argues it's actually a necessary, painful step to get to something completely different, a utopia. The core of his utopian idea is this. He says that the whole concept of your job being your purpose, your identity, that's a lie. It's a program that was installed in our brains by the Industrial Revolution and capitalism to keep the gears of the economy turning. And he believes AI is about to blow that lie to pieces. So, if we're not our jobs anymore, what's left? Well, according to Godot, everything that actually matters. Once that daily grind and anxiety are gone, humanity will be free to pour its energy into art, into spirituality, into real human connection, into just being curious, and into love and happiness. I mean, his blueprint for this is mind-bending. He imagines a future where the cost of energy and making things drops to almost nothing, so low that the whole idea of money just becomes pointless. Why would you need money if you can have anything you want? In that world, he says, competition becomes collaboration, and the whole planet is managed by one single global AI, whose only job is to maximize our well-being and keep the planet healthy. So that's where we are, standing at this incredible crossroads, holding a tool with almost unimaginable power. And we have two completely different instruction manuals for it. One promises this future of super-fast progress, driven by individual ambition. The other predicts a painful dystopian period that eventually gives way to a collective utopia. Let's just put them side by side for a second. Altman's vision has the goal of accelerated progress, driven by empowered individuals. The journey is one of rapid, sometimes destructive innovation. The outcome? Amazing scientific breakthroughs. Gaudat's vision? The goal is collective well-being. But the journey is a tough 15-year slog through a dystopia, and the outcome is even more radical, a world with no money, run by a single, all-knowing AI. And that leaves all of us with the final, and really the most important question. The technology is here. That's a fact. The tool is in our hands. We've got the optimistic blueprint from the man who built it, and we have this dire, yet strangely hopeful, warning from a man who's seen the inside of the machine. The choice of which path we even try to follow. It's not a thought experiment anymore. It's the challenge of our lifetime.